Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Circle of Dragons Druid.
Dragons? Dungeons Druids.
Dragons
Druids Dungeons?
Yes.
Yeah, that's got it. Okay.
And today's video is sponsored by Griffon Saddlebag, who are the creators of this subclass. They wanted to sponsor an entire series for all 12 of the subclasses in their second book. So check out that link down below to get access to this stuff right now and start playing. But if you're new to the channel, we're going to review the roleplay, combat, and synergy of the abilities gained in the subclass and how they improve on the base class abilities. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Players Bundle giveaway.
Yep.
All that being said, let's jump straight into it.
We're going to start off with a nice little RP feature with your Draconic lore. You can speak, read, and write Draconic. Additionally, whenever you make a history check related to Draconic history or lore, you can add your proficiency bonus to the check. If you are already proficient in the history skill, you can add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead.
All right.
Quick little caveat, I do wish it said if you learn additional language of choice if you already know Draconic. That's just a small pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
As like some books and some subclasses give you that feature. It's like as if your race gives it to you. Like if you play a Dragonborn Druid dragon, you know.
Dragonborn Dragon Circle. Yeah,
Anyway,
you can get real deep in that.
The point was, if your race gave that to you or your background gave you an extra language, I would let you pick another language of choice. Obviously, if you went this, that's just personal preference. Anyway, on to what the whole subclass is. It is dragon shape. So I mean, this is. Think very much Circle of the Moon Druid, but dragons, because this is very much all about your wild shape. So, second level, you can use your wild shape as a bonus action to transform into a unique form, your dragon shape. You become a medium dragon while in this form. So you don't stay humanoid, you become a dragon as far as creature type goes. So there are some spells that may create some fun little interactions with things like that. Sure. Standing on all fours, but you do retain your character's normal statistics and senses. Your dragon shape's AC is equal to 13, plus your dexterity modifier, maximum of 2. You have walking and climbing speed equal to 30 feet. In addition, when you take this form, you gain temporary hit points equal to your hit point maximum.
There you go.
Ooh, me. When you return to your normal form, you lose any remaining temporary hit points. You remain in this form for a number of hours equal to half your druid level rounded down, and you can revert to your normal self earlier by using a bonus action on your turn. You automatically revert if you fall unconscious, drop to 0 hit points, or die.
There you go.
So, as much as that is, I'll let you read the second half of that.
Also going along with this, when you use your dragon shape, you determine what type of dragon to transform into. The type of dragon determines your scale, color, and breath weapon's damage type, as shown in the table below. But your appearance is otherwise up to you. Your wings aren't fully formed yet at level 2, but grow stronger as you gain levels in the class. You can't cast spells while in the form, but gain a different set of actions you can use on each of your turns. Also, we'll take a quick side tangent on here. With the dragon types, for black, you get acid damage, blue is lightning, brass is fire, bronze is lightning, copper is acid, gold is fire, green is poison, red is fire, silver is cold, white is cold. So nothing really too crazy out of the normal.
All the standard is what you got. You see the guys here in front of us.
Yes. So the actions you get on here are bite and breath weapon. First is bite. When you take the attack action, you can use your dagger-like teeth to make unarmed strike. You can use your wisdom modifier instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls with your bite. If you hit with it, you deal piercing damage equal to 1d12 plus your strength or wisdom modifier.
Love that.
Instead of bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike. So wisdom, big deal. Love that.
Yes.
Also, we have breath weapon. You can use an action to exhale a plume of powerful energy from inside of you. Each creature in a 15-foot cone must make a dex save against your spell save DC. Creature takes 2d6 damage of your dragon's damage type on a failed save, or half as much on success. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again for 1 minute. Your breath weapon improves at certain levels. At 6th level, it becomes 3d6 and extends to 20-foot cone. At 10th level, it deals 4d6 and extends to a 25-foot cone. And at 14th level, it deals 5d6 and extends to a 30-foot cone. So with the 1 minute timer on there, you're pretty much going to get 1 per combat.
Right.
Essentially what's going to come out to. Most,
yes.
99% of the time. Most likely.
At level 6, we have improved dragon shape, and this is going to be a recurring theme. This is all about just buffing your dragon shape the whole way through. Your AC increases to 14 plus your dex modifier, still a maximum of 2, but you also do gain a new attack. You have an attack of claws. You can use your wisdom modifier instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls with your claws. If you hit with them, you deal slashing damage equal to 2d6 plus your strength or wisdom modifier. Again, that's great because it allows you just to focus on your wisdom.
Yep.
So when you're not in your dragon form, your casting stuff is still at full force. Fantastic. Yep. And again, it is slashing damage instead of bludgeoning damage for a normal unarmed strike. You take the attack action on your turn, you can make one attack with your bite and one attack with your claw. So essentially you're getting a multi-attack. You just get one bite and one claw. And your attacks do count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. And you have dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. If you already have dark vision from your race, the range increases by 30 feet.
Yeah, so some utility on there as well.
Yep.
Before we get on to the last two abilities, I want to shout out to our other sponsors really quick, which is Hit Point Press and their new Humblewood Tales Kickstarter expansion to their original Humblewood setting. Mm-hmm. So there's new adventures, 5 new adventures on here for players level 3 to 8. A lot of uniqueness in this campaign setting. That's one of the things that we really enjoy about it.
Great way for if you've got players in your group that want to try DMing, but they're kind of scared of having to like build their own world or create from scratch.
Yeah, awesome stuff coming from Hit Point Press as always. Definitely going to be worth your time to check that one out. Mm-hmm. Check out the link down below. All that being said, on to level 10, we have Draconic Magic. You're able to cast certain druid spells while in your dragon shape. To cast a spell while in this form, it must use a druid spell slot of level 3rd or lower, and it can't require any material components. In addition, your scales continue to toughen, and your wings have become strong enough to carry you. You gain the following benefits while in dragon shape form. Your AC is equal to 15 plus Dex modifier, max of 2, and you have resistance to the damage type associated with your dragon type. And lastly, you have flying speed of 30 feet. So a little bit more utility and mobility for your wild shape form.
And finally, at 14th level, Druids in their level 14 capstone subclass.
Crazy.
Heart of the Dragon. You can use your breath weapon even when you're not in your dragon shape. Once you use a feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. In addition, you gain the following benefits while you are in your dragon shape. The AC again increases to 16 plus your dexterity modifier, still a maximum of 2. Your flying speed increases by 10 feet to a maximum of now 40 feet. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can make 3 attacks. You can make 1 bite and 2 claw attacks. And finally, take your dragon shape, you can choose to become a large dragon instead of medium, which will give you the benefit of getting around grapples and things, potentially, getting a size advantage. And if you do, your bite has a reach of 10 feet instead of 5. So your claws would still be a reach, 5-foot reach, but your bite attack would have an extra reach to it.
You have the T-Rex problem a little bit with the large one.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are all of the abilities gained in the subclass, and we have lots to say in the rating portion of the video.
Yes, we do.
First up is the roleplay rating, asterisk, as always. When talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order.
Yes.
We're not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios.
Yes.
So, all that being said on here, as we already mentioned, there are some pretty big similarities to Moon Druid, where the whole subclass is built around using your wild shape.
Yes.
Which, there have been other subclasses that have focused on this, like Spores Druid, like Wildfire Druid, using the wild shape. But at a very different type of way to do this. This is going to be the closest thematically and mechanically to Moon Druid that we've seen so far from the subclasses that we reviewed.
Right. But instead of, scaling up and doing like elementals as being your big thing, freaking dragons.
Yeah, you just get your dragon right off the bat, and it scales as you go. It's like getting that huge power spike at 10 with your elementals with the typical move.
It's one of the most gigantic power spikes in leveling of
any
5th edition.
Subclass class.
It's going from level 9 to level 10 as a Moon Druid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so violent.
That being said, in the roleplay side of things, though, there is a free language, which is fine. As Alex said, it's a little awkward when you don't get the option in the book to change it for something else.
Yep. But
it is what it is on there.
Most likely, if you were playing this and you
would
knew,
work around
you would just work around it. And if your DM is like, if you really wanted to be a dragonborn dragon druid, your DM work with you, be like, okay, what else would you like to? I'm dwarven. Okay, cool.
Right.
Sure,
of course. And then proficiency or double proficiency for dragon-related history is nice. It is called Dungeons and Dragons, of course, so it's pretty common that history for dragons can come up in campaigns a lot of times, which is nice when it does happen, but otherwise is all right.
Yes.
And, of course, definitely some RP value transforming into a dragon,
Yes.
especially once you're able to get flying.
Yes.
Because another thing that is different from Moon Druid is when you use your elemental wild shapes, it uses both of your wild shape forms, versus this only ever uses one. So you have more flexibility between rests to use your form for roleplay scenarios.
Right.
And of course, it does last for quite a while as well. So
yeah, you
don't really
get up
have
into
to
that, level 6, 7, 8 on up. You're talking about 3 to 4 hours.
Hours and hours of it. So it is nice to have that when you do need it, and you just don't. You just don't have to drop it if you don't need to.
Nope.
And just retain that for roleplay. That being said, there is some limitations with that, as being a dragon in certain circumstances, such as social interactions, probably not going to be the best. It might cause a panic, which could be a roleplay, I guess, if
that's what you're after.
Or you could become hunted or whatever. There's some stuff on there.
But see, because if you had people who knew dragons could shapeshift into people, and all of a sudden you're going the other way around, they're going to think you're actually a dragon, not a druid, not just a regular person.
You can do some, some confusing or manipulation of some people, confusing people.
Could you imagine, part of your campaign is, one of these guys is, like the main campaign boss, and then you pass yourself off as, their right-hand man because you're also that color dragon. You're
right, yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, there's some shenanigans for sure. That could be done with that.
Yeah.
That being said, this subclass is really focused more on the combat side.
Yeah.
As you're not getting a ton of consistent, reliable roleplay use. So we just went with a 3 out of 5 for the roleplay. There are some uses for it, but it can be kind of hit or miss depending on circumstance, and it can be a little bit niche from time to time.
Yeah, the skill and then your exploration. You're getting climbing and flying speed.
Right.
Climbing speed for first thing off the bat, and eventually getting the flying speed. So that's going to help out in exploration regularly, but that's most of what you're getting as far as consistency goes.
Yes.
However, when it comes time to do the punchy, kicky, explode with all the elements of choice, scratchy, bitey situation, this gets a little bonkers. Because, like Jameson said, this only takes one use of your wild shape. The AC scales, the breath weapon scales, not only in damage, but in size of the cone, which to me is just as important. With a 30-foot cone eventually at 14,
you can get a lot.
30-foot cone will cover some space. So it's very likely to get 3 or even 4 people in that size of a space. So that's fantastic. And also, this is a very specific example. If for some reason you're exploring, and you're decided just to be a red dragon just for exploration purposes, and you're climbing or flying around and scouting, and you happen to interact with something that is resistant to fire damage, you could swap, use another bonus action to change from a red dragon. Okay, now you're a white dragon. Now you get around that fire resistance, and because it only costs you one of your wild shape uses per rest, so you can actually get around and use that relatively often and more free.
Or on the flip side of that, if you find something's vulnerable to a specific damage type, then you could switch.
That's terrifying.
Go more offensive. Yeah.
Right. Of course, the other very important thing, the fact that you can just focus on wisdom, with all of your attacks,
that's huge.
Is just so amazing. And you're going to get, eventually you get 1, you get 2, and 3 attacks with, and one of those attacks has got more range. The damage is fine. It's it's like a regular weapon attack, basically a D12 or a D6, but you're basically getting 3 weapon attacks.
Right.
The other thing that's interesting, that's different from what Moon Druid has, for example, because it's the obvious comparison to here, is that with Moon Druid you get like a separate health bar. When that health bar hits 0, you just revert back automatically.
Yeah.
Not with this. This, you get temporary hit points equal to your hit point maximum. If that temporary hit points go away, you're still a dragon in your dragon form if you so choose. But if you just want to cast spells pre-level 10? Yeah, 10. Where you're going to have to swap back.
Well, if it's over 4, then you just have to be out.
Correct, yeah. So that's still an option. So and that's the other thing. If for some reason you wanted to be able to cast a bigger spell, you could bonus action, go away, action cast a big spell. Start of your next turn, action cast a big spell, bonus action reactivate.
Yep, which you don't have the option to do as Moon Druid. Again, because it uses both your shapes.
So again, you're gonna get flying speed with your dragon shape, which is always fantastic. So you're getting the damage resistance type. So same way with you find out something is resistant to what you're doing. Same thing if you know something's gonna be putting out fire damage or acid damage or poison damage on you. You could use this wild shape defensively as well because so he's doing a lot of poison damage. I'm a green dragon, so I'm gonna be resistant to that shenanigans. So 5.
Yep, straight to it.
We thought about it for a while. It's just like it does the one thing, which is my biggest complaint about some subclasses, is stuff doesn't scale.
Yep.
All of the things it does scales all the way around. The only hesitation I had was that your AC caps out at 18, but it gives you enough temporary hit points that I was like, okay.
Yeah, you're doubling your health bar essentially. Yep. And I think the thing with it too that is super important is 1 wild shape use instead of 2 to get your big thing on here. Also, it scales versus with. I have to compare to Moon Druid because this is the closest way to understand how powerful it actually is.
Right.
So everyone knows how crazy Moon Druid is, so it's easy to compare.
Yeah.
So with the Moon Druid, you use 2 wild shapes, and you do get a huge power spike at level 10. But when you're dividing by 3, you don't really get another power spike in your CR until like level 18, I think, because then you can go to CR 6.
Yeah.
But even at that, there's some more utility with the earth elementals and things like that you might not have with CR 6 creatures to wild shape into. Mm-hmm. So with this, it scales as you go.
Yeah.
So what happens with Moon Druid is you're kind of like crazy strong, and then it kind of like plateaus a little bit, and you hit 10, and you're like exponentially better than everyone in your party.
Yes.
And then it starts to plateau a little bit. And
the kick up late.
Yeah.
When you get the ability to start casting spells in your wild shape
at 18, yes,
and unlimited uses of your wild shape and that kind of stuff.
Speaking
like
of
18,
casting
19,
spells,
20.
and I'll just try and transition as well into synergy right here with this point is casting spells innately at level 18 of the base class is going to be bypassed by this subclass because yes, you can only cast 3rd level spells and lower, but you're going to get it 8 levels earlier at level 10.
Yeah, so that part is going to be synergistic with scaling within itself. Is you're going to get a weaker version of your level 18 ability at level 10. Right. When you hit 18, it goes full bore. That's great.
And that being said, as well, you can go full into wisdom and not worry about that.
And and for the sake of your armor class, you only need 2 decks to max out what you're going to get out of your wild shape too.
So you don't have to worry so much about having multiple ability score dependency or being mad.
If you really want to lean as much into the dragon side, you just wisdom and then constitution just to maximize out your health.
Absolutely. I mean, you just live and have like 14 decks.
14 decks, and for combat purposes, obviously it's going to hurt your not having good charisma and intelligence is going to hurt your RP side of things and some saves. But as far as if you're just trying to max out what you do, wisdom con, and then make sure you get 14 to dex, and then whatever you want to do from there is up to you. So that's the other thing is you could throw up your biggest concentration spell that you want, and normally druids and clerics run into the same problem, taking a lot of concentration spells on their spell list. Where you're like, okay, my first turn I'm going to throw up Wall of Fire or some level 4 or 5, big concentration spell, and then swap. And then bonus action transform.
Right. Direct comparison, again, for the last time, I think, for Moon Druid. Moon Druid is much more defensive, if you think about it. With the dragons, you're more offensive focused.
You got an AoE attack. You eventually get 3 total attacks.
Assume this was any other druid, and you just had the ability in your subclass to just say, bonus action, double your HP. I mean, you would take that any day.
Yeah, and again, we go back to the fact that it only takes 1 use.
Right.
So if you 1 use wild shape, outside of combat, you've hit combat, you get blown up by like a couple of big abilities, get crit on as a red dragon. It's like, oh, I would like to get that temp HP back. Can I use my other wild shape to become now I'm a copper dragon and get all that HP right back? Yep,
that's exactly what I was about to just say. The only minor critique that I have with this is it is temp HP.
Yes.
Which means you can't heal it.
Right.
So if you're not below your
maximum
normal health,
yeah,
you can't like cure wounds or heal yourself where, with other subclasses you would maybe have that ability to do so.
But you feel free to just go in there and get whatever you want, because until you get below half health with your effective HP in terms of this, you can't be healed anyway. So if you don't have a barbarian paladin fighter in your group to eat hits, you will be free and ready just to be in there and mix it up.
Yes, for sure. Again, focusing much more on the combat side with this one.
Oh yeah.
Gave it a 5 in the synergy as well.
Yep.
It is the most competitive druid subclass that I think we've seen to Moon Druid.
Oh yeah.
It's just on the other side of the coin. It's more offensive
as opposed to defensive.
So with that, some might say like it's broken or whatever. I think it is actually pretty balanced because it's a little bit squishier.
Yeah,
and Moon Druid and Moon Druid exists.
Yeah,
So the fact that exists sets the bar pretty high for balance.
And because this leans so far into the wild shape stuff, like Moon Druid does, but if you're using this shape in combat, you are not able to cast spells just freely, consistently. You have to kind of like swap back and forth or plan around that more. Where if you're, if you're any other subclass Druid that isn't Moon or this, your wild shapes are pretty much just going to be RP based, stuff because your CR is going to be so low. You're going to be more just going to be a full caster in combat anyway.
Right. So definitely very interested in this one. Probably one of my favorite subclasses that we've reviewed. I think out of all the ones.
I mean,
it's in the top in the short list.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely
freaking druids, man.
Yes, I love the glass cannon-y kind of stuff. So
yeah,
always a big fan of that. That being said, guys, that's all for today. Thank you again to our sponsors. Griffon Saddlebag, of course, check them out. Get in their Patreon. Literally thousands of items, monsters, character options, tons of stuff. Awesome content, high quality stuff as well, as you can see on here, guys. And Humblewood Tales, guys, awesome Kickstarter expansion to an already fantastic setting.
Yep.
We did unboxing of the box set for that,
yes.
And we reviewed the subclasses. If you don't know too much about the Humblewood setting, check that out. It'll give you some more reason to look into the Tales.
3 of the 4 I loved, and the other one I still liked of the subclasses. So.
Yes. So,
yeah,
high quality stuff coming from these guys. We try to pick stuff that you guys would be interested in, that you feel proud to work with. Right. So, definitely worth your time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when all of our new videos are coming out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.